Hi everyone. Have you ever wished that you were maybe stronger or that the chore of lifting everyday objects was maybe easier? Well, if so, you might consider joining powerlifting. And according to Alex Klemp in his article titled The Effects of High and Low Repetition Daily Undulating Periodization Models with Equated Volume on Strength and Hypertrophy in Trained Males, lifting higher weights over lower repetitions will gain overall more strength compared to lifting lower weights over higher repetitions. And in powerlifting, the basis of most of the workouts is to lift these higher weights over lower repetitions and to gain overall more strength. If you are considering joining powerlifting, you are obviously going to want to know what it is, and that is exactly what I'm here to do today, is to explain to you what powerlifting is and how the meets kind of work. And so I'm going to get right into it and start talking about the meets. You will lift the squat, bench, press, and deadlift in that order at the meet. You will receive 3 attempts at each lift to get the most amount of weight possible. And then there are classes very similar to wrestling that are divided up by gender and weight. That way you don't have a 300-pound guy lifting against a little 100-pound guy, which wouldn't be very fair. And then there's the referee system where you'll have one referee on each side of you, and then the chief referee will be in front of you for the squat and deadlift, or behind you for the bench press because you're laying down on the bench. And now I'm going to get right into the 3 lifts. The first one being the squat, because that'll be the first one you do at the meet. So they'll load up the bar for you, and then you will walk up to it, put it on your shoulders, unrack it, and then take a step back. You're going to set your starting position by getting your feet flat on the floor where you want them. You must be standing in an erect position, and then you have to be motionless, and then the chief referee will lower his or her hand and say squat, and at that point you cannot move your feet off the floor. They're stuck there until the chief referee says rack it, and then you are going to squat down until the top surface of the legs at the hip joint is lower than the top of the knees. That is the biggest controversy in the squat, is whether the lifter got low enough, and that is straight out of the IPF rule book of 2016, and that is the correct depth. And once you have reached this depth, you will then stand back up to that starting position, and once you're held motionless, under control, the chief referee will say rack it. Once he says rack it, you'll return the bar to the rack, and that is the end of that lift. The main reasons for disqualification in this lift are, like I said, if you didn't get low enough, if your feet come off the ground, if you cannot lift the weight, or if you fail to follow the chief referee's commands. And that's the end of that one. I'm going to get into the next lift, which is the bench press. For the bench press, you're going to lie down on the bench, and then your head, shoulders, and butt must remain in contact with the bench surface, and your feet must remain flat on the floor. And if you're too short and your feet can't touch the floor, they will provide plates, and that way your feet will then be flat on those. You're going to unrack the bar, hold the bar with straight elbows out over you, and then wait for the chief referee to say start. And then at this point, you will lower the bar to your chest or abdominal area. You have to touch your chest or abdominal area, and then press it back up. And once you have the straight elbows from the same starting position, and you're held motionless, under control, the chief referee will say rack it. And then that's it for that lift. The reasons for disqualification for this lift are if you did not go all the way down and touch your chest or abdominal area, if you bounce the bar off your chest or abdominal area, if you do not follow the chief referee's commands, and that's about it. And for that lift, I followed the USA Powerlifting Rulebook of 2017, and that is all I have for the bench press. Now I'm going to get into the deadlift, which I went back to the IPF rulebook from 2016. And in case you're wondering what IPF means, it is the International Powerlifting Federation. So there's just some background information right there. The 2 rule books are very similar. But anyway, for the deadlift, there is not even a starting command. It's very simple. They will have the bar loaded up with your weight that you have selected, and you'll walk up to it. It's going to be laid horizontally in front of you. You will grip the bar and lift it up until you're standing at an erect position. And in order to be in this erect position, your knees have got to be locked out straight, and your shoulders have to be back. And so once you're at this position and you are under control, the chief referee will lower their hand and say down, and you must lower the bar under your control. The reasons for disqualification for this one are if you lower the weight too early, you drop the weight, or it's not under your control, or if you're using your legs to kind of like burst the bar up to get it to where you need it to be at the top, or obviously if you can't lift the weight. So that's all I have for the deadlift. And in conclusion, to win the meets, the person that lifts the most amount of weight from each lift, so they're going to take your best weight from each lift, add them up and your total, and then whoever has the highest total will win. If you have two lifters that have the same total, they will take that total weight that you lifted divided by your body weight, and then whoever weighed less would win because that will be the higher number in that case. And so just to kind of rehash what powerlifting is, it's the 3 big lifts: the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys.